What is up, folks? It is Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm coming at you once again from the X-Lair to provide you my reaction to fucking Justice League, man. Justice League, the movie that I just fucking saw, finally was released after fucking years of talk and speculation and rumors and bullshit and then more bullshit and then more bullshit and then more bullshit and still more bullshit and still more bullshit and now there's more bullshit and now there's more and now the film, the actual fucking movie, the thing that was the subject of so much fucking bull motherfucking shit for so goddamn long has finally come out, and I finally got a chance to fucking see this movie. God fucking damn it. God fucking damn it. So much goddamn talk. Oh, what's gonna happen to the DCEU? Is it gonna survive? Oh god, not Zack Snyder again. He's gonna direct that movie. Oh god, no, it's going to be horrible. Oh my god, Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide, which is a very serious matter, and I have addressed it in a separate video. If you'd like to know my thoughts on it, please check out that video. But that happened. Okay, they're bringing Joss Whedon on to finish the film. All right. Oh shit, there's all these reshoots. Oh my god, these reshoots are huge. Are they like reshooting the entire film? Oh my god, the movie's really short. It's only 2 hours long. Oh my god, fucking is Batman going to be played by Ben Affleck or not in subsequent films? Is Rotten Tomatoes holding back the tomato score because the movie sucks and they're trying to fool us? Like, what's going on? What's going on? The movie's good. The movie is actually fucking good. Despite all the madness that went on throughout the pre-production of this film, obviously Warner Brothers had made a very sharp left turn in terms of their overall approach to what they were doing. They decided not to go down the dark route that they were going down, and they decided to become light and fluffy and fun in the middle of them already having like several films in production. Suicide Squad was the first casualty of that process. And now this film could have potentially been a casualty of it, but it wasn't. It's not a casualty, folks. It's totally worth enjoying. It's totally worth your money. Go sit down. You're not going to be disappointed. You're not going to be hating the movie the entire time. You're not going to be nitpicking at all these little weird things that might be going on in the movie, because those weird things that might be going on in the movie don't go on in the movie. Fortunately, the movie actually turned out good. It turned out very entertaining, very satisfying. It was wonderful to finally see all these characters together. Jason Momoa's Aquaman was fantastic. I really liked Cyborg. I really liked The Flash. I liked Batman. I liked Wonder Woman. And spoilers, motherfuckers. Spoilers from this point forward. I really love Superman. In fact, Superman was my favorite part of the film. And that's hands down fucking awesome. Like, we have not been given much Superman in the marketing material. There was that one trailer that showed him in the field, and then it showed Lois Lane waking up, and it seemed as though that was part of the dream. Fortunately, it was not. That was actually a scene from the film. Yeah, super satisfying. Overall, very satisfied with this entire ride. Yes, there is a critique out there of like, well, it just came together too quickly. Like, we don't really know these other characters or whatever. But you know what? I know these fucking characters because I've been living as a fan of these characters since I was a fucking little kid. And so have most people. Most people know who fucking Aquaman is. Everybody knows who Wonder Woman is. Before the film, they knew who it was. But now after her big blockbuster hit, they know who fucking Wonder Woman is. Everybody knows who fucking Batman is. The Flash TV show made sure that everybody knows who the Flash is. Of course, everybody knows who Superman is. And Cyborg, he's kind of new. But if you're a comic book fan, you know who he is. If you're a fan of the new Teen Titans, you know who he is. He's been around for a long time, and people are fans of his. And so every single character brought its own like enormous fan base, multi-generational fan base, and there is no way that people are not going to fucking love this film. There's no fucking way in hell. Because there's so many goddamn fans of these characters, and we have all been waiting for way too long to see them together and just like done in a way that is super fun, exciting, satisfying, and just really holds true to the spirit of who these characters are and what they stand for. We've been waiting way too long for it, and now we finally got it, and it's very satisfying. As I've already said 1,000 times, all the bullshit that went on prior to this movie, fuck that bullshit. It's over. This movie is done. It is out. We have been able to see it. Me, I'm a regular person. I got to see it, and I really fucking enjoyed it, and so will you. You should go watch it. Now, let us talk about some of the stuff that went on in the film. All right, so I really loved the whole movie. Um, I'm a fan of Zack Snyder's. Bottom line, a fan of Zack Snyder's. Batman v Superman was a miss, but it wasn't his fault because the theatrical cut was cut down by the studio. And if you watch the ultimate cut, which is his actual cut of the film, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. Man of Steel was a good movie, and so I like Zack Snyder. I like 300. I like Dawn of the Dead. I like fucking Watchmen. I like his films. I didn't like Sucker Punch too much because it didn't do it for me as far as like what I'm overall interested in. But I really like Zack Snyder. I like Man of Steel, and that's it. He's a good filmmaker. So as I was watching this movie, I wasn't going to be like, oh God, Zack Snyder, blah, 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 fucking blah. No, I was going to enjoy the Zack Snyder vision of the Justice League. But yeah, we needed a little something extra put in there. And that's what Joss Whedon brought in. And I've heard comments of like, it feels like a Marvel film. It feels like an Avengers film. And it doesn't. It feels like a Justice League film. And the quippiness, the funny one-liners, the funny sort of little vignettes that kind of play out between the action that very clearly Joss Whedon is responsible for, I'm very happy with. Like, it works well and it doesn't feel like not organic to the overall film. It feels natural to it. It feels like something that was necessary. Like, bottom line, you have very powerful characters that are very confident, aside from Barry Allen, and they know that they can take on big threats, and so why not have them be cocky and just like posturing with each other and like even having some fun with each other in order to kind of remind them like, yeah, this is serious, but like we can handle this shit, and therefore it's not that fucking serious. It didn't feel like, not again organic to these characters and like how we've come to know them. If you watch Justice League Unlimited and Justice League the cartoon, the first two seasons that then became Justice League Unlimited in the early 2000s, like the characters were having fun with each other. It's just natural for these characters to have fun with each other, and we saw a lot of that, and that was very clearly Joss Whedon's influence, and fuck it, it worked. Like, film is a collaborative art form, straight up. Like, no matter what, like, there's a lot of people involved in filmmaking, and so if there happen to be two fucking auteur filmmakers coming in and kind of mixing a vision into one, like, you're gonna get a good product. Bottom line, it's not gonna feel like what it felt like when we watched X-Men 3, who fucking Brett Ratner, a hack, and also a fucking a sexual harasser of the highest order, and maybe worse. I don't know. There's a lot of fucking rumors coming out about that asshole, but he fucked up X-Men 3. X-Men 3 was being prepared by Matthew Vaughn, and then Matthew Vaughn left like before it started, and Brett Ratner stepped in, and it was a disaster. It was very clearly like the clashing of two visions, but this wasn't. This was like the melding of two visions, and the studio, I think, gave Joss Whedon what he needed in order to be able to accomplish that once Zack Snyder had walked away. But in the end, like, it is a Zack Snyder film. It feels like a Zack Snyder film. It's just got a little bit more of that life to the characters that we need in order to kind of bridge this into whatever the DCEU is going to now become. So, I don't know. I was totally comfortable with like everything that was done. In the decisions that were made in terms of like the flow of the story, the juxtaposition of scenes, the extra kind of witty banter that's just kind of injected into serious moments. All of that I was very comfortable with and happy with, and I was never taken out of the film. I heard some stuff about people being aware of like Henry Cavill's like CGI'd mustache, because I guess in the reshoots he had to come back with a mustache and he couldn't shave it off because he's making another film, and they CGI'd a mustache off, and people said that might be a distraction, and I didn't notice that whatsoever. I didn't notice that one bit. Anyway, the film itself, enjoyable, loved. Actually, there was a problem. There were a few problems in the movie. Obviously, the villain, Steppenwolf, whatever. Why wasn't it fucking Darkseid? You know why? Because this film was supposed to be Justice League Part 1, and then Part 2 is supposed to be fucking Darkseid. But, hey, we're going to get that eventually. I'm very confident of that, so I'm happy about it. Because Darkseid is the menace that should eventually be faced by these guys, but not these folks, but not necessarily the first time around. So I'm glad that they didn't waste the villain with Darkseid. But then the Steppenwolf guy, whatever, and the CGI for Steppenwolf was whatever. There was a lot of CGI that was not great in this film, but I don't care because overall I really enjoyed everything that was happening. But there were definitely some moments that were like, okay, this is clearly just an animation, and it's not, doesn't feel at all like realistic in any way. Like they didn't put in that extra time and effort to really render like reality into the things that we were seeing. And hopefully they do it by the time the film is released on home video. So if that happens, then we'll be good. We'll be good. Yeah, the problems, the beginning, it was all very enjoyable, but like in terms of like the little kind of stories that kind of establish each of the characters, it felt a little kind of like, well, we need to cover like A, B, C, D, E bases, you know? And that's fine, because in the end, all the bases were covered, so it didn't feel bad. And it didn't feel like Suicide Squad, where it was just like, we need to entertain people with this movie that wasn't entertaining. We're just going to put the little fucking music videos for each character in the beginning, and it's all going to feel really like fractured. It didn't feel that way, but the flow of the story wasn't necessarily smooth. Nonetheless, it did what it needed to do, and I enjoyed what was happening in each scene, even though it didn't logically feel like they fit together all the time. But I did enjoy what was happening in each scene. I was never taken out of a scene because of some fucking weird, like, montagey, like, weird, like, here's a song you might like, and here's some interesting cuts that, will highlight the fun of the song and introduce a character that you might like. Like, we didn't have any of that, which is good. That's what happened in Suicide Squad, and the movie was a disaster overall. But this was not. Anyway, I got a lot of the cool stuff. Like, them coming together was really enjoyable. Like, all the heroes, like, uniting. Like, that whole kind of arc. Bringing all the characters in, people meeting for the first time, people exhibiting powers for the first time for the audience. All that was really enjoyable. Aquaman, really loved Aquaman throughout the entire thing. Cyborg, he was surprising. I didn't expect to like him as much as I did, but I did. I enjoyed the character. I enjoyed the nature of his technology and how it was very clearly linked to like the big story. Like everything was cohesive in terms of like the story. Like the Atlanteans had one of those mother boxes. The Amazons had a mother box. Cyborg was partly made from a mother box. So like all of that, like it all came together really well. The story wasn't a complete mess where it's like, well, here's a bunch of story points we got to cover, but it's all kind of not related. No, it was all related, and there was a tightness to it, which I enjoyed. And the pace was fast enough that like if there were plot holes, I didn't think about them. I just kind of kept enjoying the fun. But of course, like the entire time, what was missing was fucking Superman up until the point where he reemerged. I was surprised in the way that they brought him back. I really enjoyed that they took that approach versus like he's the drone like muscle of the villain. You know, like the villain kind of brings him back to life and then has him under his control, and he becomes sort of like the main villain to the White Justice League. Fortunately, that was not the case. And by the way, as a gay man, like I really enjoyed the fact that like the whole first sequence of Superman back was like Henry Cavill shirtless, like all kind of glistening and all buff. All you ladies out there and my fellow gays, you know what I'm talking about. It's a very enjoyable first sort of reintroduction to Superman. I was like, all right, I can get into this. This is good. I can watch this a few more times, continuously in a loop for a while. Yeah. I mean, Henry Cavill is very easy on the eyes, and they did a really good job of just like highlighting why. And in a really great sequence where like he reemerges and like he's confused, and then he does fight the Justice League, and that fight between him and the Justice League was epic, and I fucking loved every moment of it. But I especially love the moment when Lois comes in and like him and Lois get together and they like fly off, and everything that went on with him and her, like in the quiet. Like, at that moment, this all of a sudden felt like Man of Steel 3 to me. Like, Batman v Superman was Man of Steel 2, and this was Man of Steel 3. And so, we have followed these characters through 3 films. We have followed their relationship for 3 films. And so, there was a poignancy. It was visceral, this like, connection between them. And so, like, their reunion was touching, and it touched me, and I had emotions as a result of it, and that is great. You know, that's what you want in these films. Like, they're super fantastic, so much weird shit is going on, but if you can have those moments that the audience can identify with, those really human moments, then you can have like a really successful film. Like a really great crowd pleaser, and like it had a lot of those moments. One of those was that. Really enjoyed the score that had like these like shades of like the original Batman Michael Keaton score done by Danny Elfman, who actually did the score for this film. It was subtle, but it was in there. So Batman's theme, da 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 dun 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 da. It was in there, but it was a little bit different, a little bit sort of adapted to this overall Justice League score that he was creating. And we also had both the Man of Steel theme and the original John Williams Superman theme, both in there in different ways at different times. Still, again, very enjoyable. And every time it happened on both the Batman and the Superman theme, I did get a bit verklempt. I got a little emotional because those themes carry a lot of resonance as far as like nostalgia value and association with these characters. So I think it was a good move to include them and try to, again, kind of connect this to everything that's familiar about these characters, everything we love, to, again, elicit as much joy as possible, which is what happened. It was just joy explosions all over the place, which was awesome. The stuff that was going on with the character Steppenwolf and the final battle, all that stuff was, whatever. It was enjoyable to watch, but I mean, you knew they were going to beat him and whatever. Like I didn't feel like there were huge stakes in it, but it doesn't matter because I really enjoyed fucking watching these characters fighting together, Superman fucking fighting alongside the Flash, fighting alongside Aquaman, fighting alongside fucking Wonder Woman. We saw a Green Lantern, by the way, in the past, which is really cool, which is foreshadowing, obviously, the introduction of Green Lanterns into this world in the future. In the end, Diana does say, let's leave room for extra chairs around that table because they plan to have more heroes. So we're going to have fucking Green Lanterns. We're going to have the Martian Manhunter in there. Every other character we know of. I'm going to assume Green Arrow eventually. I'm going to assume Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Like, all these people will eventually be part of the Justice League. We have Shazam being introduced soon. So, I mean, this could get really enormous and really fucking fun. Like, this is a great start. I'm like this perfect. Like, when I finished watching this movie, I thought to myself, this is going to be a great sort of topping off to like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. Like, I can really just kind of watch them together, all three of them, and it'll feel like one really awesome fucking Zack Snyder trilogy that then, again, establishes a foundation for this universe that then can then go in different directions now with different tones and all sorts of different elements that are going to be fucking dope. Like, this film has finally solidified the Justice League as a viable team, the DCEU as a viable world that we as fans can like embrace and enjoy and want more from. So I think this movie is overall a success on every level. And as far as the score goes, I'm going to give it a 9. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. I understand that the Rotten Tomatoes score is 38%, but I think that just has a lot to do with a lot of these critics that are not necessarily lifelong geek fans, and they just watch these films because they have to, and they've been bogged down by all the bullshit surrounding this movie prior to it being released, and ultimately that informing partly like their reaction to the film, which I totally understand. But like, as a fucking lifelong fan of comic books, heroes, fucking these characters, like, this movie like did everything I wanted it to do, and I'm really happy with it, and I can't wait to see it again. I will watch it again, and I can't wait to have it at home to watch as many times as I deem fit. All right, folks, that is my reaction. That is what I'm able to offer as far as, just what my thoughts and feelings are after watching the film. I got this really cool comic, too, from the IMAX theater at the AMC theater that I watched, which is great. It's a great way to sort of commemorate this event with a comic book that may be rare in the future. Who knows? It doesn't matter. All that matters is that I am happy that there's a Justice League film and it's good and it's something that I can enjoy watching now. And I will watch endlessly until I die. All right, folks, thanks for checking out my video. Thanks for checking out my channel. If you haven't already done so, you just press that little button, right there, right below the screen. Yeah, just press it, subscribe, keep up. I'll be back. I have reviews. I have things will be talked about. I'm going to watch The Punisher this weekend, so I'll be talking about that. at some point. And then, of course, I'm doing my gifted reviews, and things are coming. All right, folks. I just want to remind you one last time, if you haven't already, put an X in that box because ain't nobody checking me. Take care. Bye-bye.